Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started giving the overview of the 2020 CERP interim goals and interim targets. And if Agnes gets her audio up and going, she can take over for me. So next slide, please. So the CERP interim goals and interim targets are required in the CERP programmatic regulations. Interim goals are a means to evaluate the ecosystem restoration success of CERP by tracking restoration performance. Interim targets, conversely, are a means to evaluate the success of the other CERP goals, so providing for other water-related needs of the region, including water supply and flood protection. Interim goals and interim targets shall be developed by Recover through the use of appropriate models and tools and the best available science and information. Next slide, please. Okay, so it's important to understand that Recover documents are not self-executing. So in order to implement CERP goals, interim goals and targets, there needs to be an interim goals agreement and interim targets. There will need to be a interagency interim targets agreement. These are usually with the Secretary of the Army, Secretary of the Interior, and the Governor of Florida. This happened in 2005 with the 2005 interim goals and interim targets. And by 2007, an governmental interim goals and interim targets agreement was executed. Next. So why do we do this? So interim goals and targets tell us where we're going, and the planning tools that help us estimate the likely success of CERP as projects are being constructed and operated. They tell us if we're getting there, and they provide us a basis of reporting our progress. And they help us figure out ways to get better and assist us with adaptive management. Next. So this effort, so the original 2005 interim goals and interim targets effort selected indicators, basically, they were related to the goals and purposes of CERP and various aspects of the natural, agricultural, and urbanized parts of the system. And they provide predictions of how we expect these indicators will change with CERP implementation. But those original 2005 indicators were largely qualitative, although they were based upon the best available science at that time. Next. So we're updating them now because we now have better hydrologic and ecological models available. We have a much longer hydrologic data set going from 1965 to 2005. We have our pre-CERP projects are finally, they're nearing completion or already completed. And our CERP projects are in the process of being authorized and being implemented. Next. So our hydrologic models that were used for this round of interim goals and interim targets is the regional system simulation model, basins north, and the regional simulations model Glaze Lexa. We also use, in some cases, the natural systems model 4.6.2. Next. So these models take various different forms. So we use a variety of ecological models that build off those hydrologic models and produce a variety of results. So in some cases, a habitat suitability index is developed in the case of, for example, eastern oyster. In other cases, these are used to model the improvement of hydrology for wading birds or estimate the density of small fish throughout the Everglades. And usually these are presented as difference maps between, the addition of the the CERP projects versus the existing condition baseline. Next. Okay, so we have 4 different scenarios that were used in the 2020 interim goals and interim targets. 2017 is the existing condition baseline. It's basically the state of the system around 2017. 2026 is our next step forward, and it's based upon the July 2018 integrated delivery schedule. And so it's only those projects that are scheduled to be completed by then. 2032, we had 2 different versions. One is the 2032 SEP, which incorporated the shallow A1, A2 flow equalization basin as originally authorized, and the 2032 Packer model uses the A2 EAA STA reservoir. That's basically the new updated version. And so both of them are included for comparison purposes. Next. So some critical assumptions. Basically, everything that's projected is based upon this 41-year data set of the past from 1965 to 2005. So it's not assuming any sea level rise change or any climate change. It's assuming that the weather is going to be similar. And it only reflects change due to projects that were already authorized in this integrated delivery schedule in 2018. So it does not include things like the combined operational plan, which was authorized afterwards. And it's important to realize these models are not perfect and they lag the reality. So it's important to really focus on the difference map, the how things change versus the baseline. Next. So we have 4 different interim goals regions, and we've got speakers for each of these regions. We have the Northern Estuaries, Lake Okeechobee, Greater Everglades, and the Southern Coastal Systems. Next. A variety of interim goals indicators were identified, and a number of these are going to be further developed in the talks coming up. Next. Interim targets identify 6 different indicators, and these are going to be covered in the interim targets talk. These range from water volume, water supply, and protection of the Biscayne aquifer and flood control. Next. So, any questions? So I think I was really sped through that. So, but I guess we got time for one question if people want.
Andrea, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat.
Okay. Okay, with that.